Barron Trump discovers his mother has become the target of a nationally televised insult. The airwaves crackle with laughter from a studio audience, but behind the closed doors, it's no laughing matter. For Barron Trump, this was more than just another joke from a late-night host, it was personal.
The clip spread like wildfire. The TV host, known for his sharp wit and polarizing political humor, had taken aim at Melania Trump. While his jokes often courted controversy, this time, he crossed a line that few had dared to approach, dragging a teenager into the fray by ridiculing his mother. The joke wasn't just offensive, it was a calculated shot designed to provoke a reaction. And a reaction is exactly what it got. Social media erupted within hours. Hashtags like Melania deserves respect and free speech debate were trending, sparking intense arguments on both sides. News outlets dissected the incident, airing the clip repeatedly as pundits debated the boundaries of comedy. Yet amid all the noise, one voice remained steadfastly silent. Barron Trump. But silence wasn't inaction. Behind the scenes, Barron, with his mother's unwavering support, was about to take a stand no one saw coming. For years, he had stayed out of the public eye, shielded from the chaos of his family's political legacy. But now he was ready to step into the spotlight, not to court fame, but to demand accountability. What started as a joke would soon ignite a legal and cultural battle that would leave the nation stunned. And Barron Trump? He was just getting started. The night seemed routine. Another late-night show, another round of biting humor aimed at public figures. But this time, the punchline landed differently. The host, known for his no-holds-barred style, cracked a joke that wasn't just about Melania Trump, but struck directly at her son Barron. The audience's reaction was mixed. Some laughed, others hesitated, sensing the joke had crossed an invisible line. The clip spread like wildfire the next morning. Social media platforms lit up with opinions as hashtags like "Chuck's Melania deserves," "Better," and Barron Trump trended for hours. Memes flooded Instagram and TikTok, some mocking the host's boldness, others criticizing the tastelessness of the joke. Tweets defending Barron, a teenager who had largely remained out of the public eye, gained traction. "Is nothing off limits anymore?" one user posted, reflecting a sentiment that resonated with many. At Mar-a-Lago, the Trump family home in Palm Beach, Barron watched the clip for himself. It wasn't the first time his family had been the subject of public ridicule, but this time, it hit closer to home. The insult wasn't just about politics, it was about his mother. The words stung, and the casual laughter that followed on screen only made it worse. Melania Trump's response was immediate and visceral. She had always made it her mission to protect her son from the spotlight, fiercely guarding his privacy amid the chaos of public life. But this joke was different. It wasn't just an attack on her, it was an attack on Barron. Her maternal instincts kicked in, and she knew they couldn't let this go unanswered. Within hours, the family began to strategize. While Melania was no stranger to public statements, it was Barron who made the bold suggestion to take legal action. At just 17 years old, he felt it was time to stand up, not just for himself, but for his mother. Melania, proud but cautious, hesitated at first. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked. Barron's answer was firm. "I'm tired of them thinking they can say whatever they want about us." Word of the Trump family's possible lawsuit spread quickly. News outlets picked up the story, and the debate over comedy versus cruelty began in earnest. Supporters of the Trump family praised Barron's courage, calling it a necessary stand against the media's unchecked power. Critics, however, accused the family of overreacting and attacking free speech. As the controversy grew, the late-night host doubled down, refusing to apologize. In a follow-up monologue, he framed the situation as a defensive comedy, insisting, "If you can't laugh at public figures, what's the point?" His defiance only fueled the fire, polarizing the public even further. For Barron, the decision was made. He officially filed a lawsuit targeting not just the host but also the network that aired the joke. The legal grounds? Defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. As the papers were served, the media frenzy intensified, setting the stage for a courtroom battle that promised to be as dramatic as it was divisive. The lawsuit made headlines within hours of being filed. The legal action was unprecedented. Barron Trump, the youngest son of a former president, suing a major late-night TV host and their network for defamation and emotional distress. The case wasn't just about a tasteless joke. It was shaping up to be a cultural battleground over free speech, accountability, and the limits of comedy. The legal team representing Barron wasted no time. They framed the case as a fight for dignity and respect. This isn't about suppressing comedy. Barron's lead attorney, a respected litigator with a track record of high-profile victories, explained at a press conference. It's about protecting a child's right to privacy and shielding families from targeted, unwarranted ridicule. The lawsuit's specifics were damning. It alleged that the joke wasn't an offhand remark, but a calculated decision made to provoke controversy and boost ratings. The filing included evidence of premeditated intent, with emails suggesting that the host and network executives discussed how to push boundaries by mentioning the Trump family. The strategy, the lawsuit claimed, was to stir outrage, which they knew would lead to viral clips and heightened viewership. The public reaction was swift and deeply divided. Supporters of the Trump family praised Barron's bold move. "Finally, someone's holding them accountable," tweeted one high-profile commentator. Parents in particular rallied around the cause, with hashtags like Protect Your Kids gaining traction. "This isn't about politics," wrote one mother on Instagram. "It's about basic human decency." But the backlash was equally fierce. Comedians and free speech advocates criticized the lawsuit, arguing that it set a dangerous precedent. "If we start suing over jokes, where does it end?" asked one prominent stand-up comedian during a podcast. Late-night hosts across the country voiced their concerns as well. One even quipped, "If this lawsuit goes through, we'll all be out of a job." The host at the center of the controversy wasn't backing down either. In his next show, he delivered a fiery monologue defending his right to free speech. "Comedy is supposed to challenge, provoke, and sometimes make people uncomfortable," he declared. "If we can't joke about public figures, what are we even doing here?" His audience cheered, but the controversy surrounding his words was far from over. As the lawsuit gained momentum, it became more than just a legal battle. It was a cultural reckoning. News outlets devoted hours to panel discussions, debating the ethical boundaries of humor. Social media platforms buzzed with arguments, with people sharing their own perspectives on whether the joke was fair game or had crossed a line. Supporters of Barron emphasized the importance of drawing a distinction between public figures and their families. "Barron isn't a politician," one viral tweet read. "He's a teenager. Leave him alone." Critics, however, argued that being part of such a high-profile family inherently made Barron a public figure. "If your family's in the spotlight, you're in the spotlight," one commentator insisted. The debate spilled beyond the media. College campuses hosted forums on free speech, while advocacy groups began discussing the ethical responsibilities of media professionals. Even workplaces and dinner tables became venues for heated discussions. The case wasn't just about Barron anymore. It had become a mirror reflecting society's values. The stakes were high and the lines were drawn. For Barron and his legal team, it wasn't just about winning a court case, it was about sending a message. For the host and his defenders, it was about preserving creative freedom in an increasingly scrutinized world. The stage was set for a legal showdown that promised to reshape the conversation around comedy, accountability, and personal dignity. And as the courtroom doors opened, all eyes were on the young man who had taken a stand against one of the most powerful industries in entertainment. The trial began with a media frenzy. Reporters packed the steps of the courthouse, capturing every moment as Barron Trump, accompanied by his mother Melania, walked confidently into the building. On the other side, the embattled late-night host arrived with his legal team, a determined look masking the pressure he was under. Inside, the tension was palpable. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a cultural event. The prosecution opened with a strong argument. Barron's lead attorney painted a vivid picture of a teenager unfairly thrust into the spotlight. "This is not about suppressing jokes," she began, her voice clear and measured. "This is about recognizing when humor becomes harm. No child should be subjected to ridicule on a national stage for the sake of entertainment." The courtroom fell silent as the clip of the offending joke was played. The laughter from the studio audience echoed in the chamber, but the mood was somber. The attorney described how the joke had deeply affected Barron, citing examples of his struggles with anxiety and the backlash he faced from peers. Witnesses, including close friends and family members, testified to the toll the incident had taken on him emotionally and mentally. Barron himself took the stand, and his testimony was a pivotal moment. Speaking calmly but firmly, he recounted the pain of watching his mother become a target and feeling powerless to defend her. "I understand that people will always have opinions about my family," he said, "but this wasn't about politics. It was about my mom, and I couldn't just sit by and let it happen." The defense, however, came prepared. They leaned heavily on the First Amendment, arguing that comedy, no matter how offensive, deserved protection. The late-night host took the stand in his own defense, delivering an impassioned speech about his role as a comedian. "My job is to challenge power, to make people think, and yes, to push boundaries," he said. "Sometimes that means stepping on toes, but that's the nature of satire." To bolster their argument, the defense called upon a panel of prominent comedians who testified about the importance of creative freedom. One comedian declared, "If we start censoring jokes, we lose the ability to address uncomfortable truths." The courtroom became a theater of clashing ideologies. On one side, the prosecution emphasized the harm done to a teenager who never sought the spotlight. On the other, the defense championed the importance of satire in a free society. The trial seemed evenly balanced until the prosecution unveiled a shocking twist. On the third day of testimony, the prosecution called a surprise witness, William Carter, a former producer for the late-night show. His demeanor was calm but resolute as he stepped forward, swearing to tell the truth. What followed was a bombshell that shifted the dynamics of the trial entirely. Carter revealed internal emails and memos that suggested the joke about Melania Trump was not spontaneous, but deliberately crafted to provoke controversy. One email from a network executive read, "This will stir the pot, exactly what we need right now." Another suggested that the host had resisted telling the joke, but was pressured by higher-ups to go through with it. "Controversy sell," the message concluded. As the courtroom absorbed this revelation, gasps rippled through the audience. The defense scrambled to downplay the significance of the emails, arguing that network decisions had no bearing on the host's creative process. But the damage was done. The narrative had shifted from one of free speech to one of corporate manipulation and exploitation. Outside the courthouse, the public reaction was immediate. News outlets ran headlines like, "The joke that wasn't, network emails reveal controversy strategy." Social media erupted, with many turning their criticism toward the network rather than the host. For the first time, the focus of the trial wasn't just on the joke itself, but on the machinery that fueled it. Inside the courtroom, the testimony continued. Barron's attorney seized the moment to hammer home their argument. "This wasn't just an offhand comment," she said, her voice rising with conviction. "It was a calculated move designed to exploit a family's pain for ratings. That's not comedy, that's cruelty." The defense continued to argue for the host's right to creative freedom, but the tide had clearly turned. By the time closing arguments began, the courtroom felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. The courtroom was packed as the jury returned with their verdict. The atmosphere was electric, with reporters, legal analysts, and the public waiting to see how this cultural and legal battle would conclude. Barron Trump sat quietly, his hands folded, while his mother Melania placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. On the other side, the late-night host shifted uneasily, his confidence shaken after weeks of intense scrutiny. After hours of deliberation, the jury's decision was announced. The host was found liable for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, while the network was deemed complicit in fostering a culture of exploitation for ratings. The damages awarded were significant, both financial and reputational. The judge emphasized in her closing remarks that the case was not about silencing free speech, but about recognizing the line between humor and harm. "With influence comes responsibility," she said, her voice firm, "and that responsibility must not be taken lightly." Outside the courthouse, the media frenzy reached its peak. Supporters of the Trump family cheered the verdict, calling it a victory for accountability and dignity. Parents across the country resonated with the outcome, many taking to social media to express their relief. Finally, a message has been sent. "Our kids aren't fair game," one post read, accompanied by a photo of Barron and Melania leaving the courthouse. For the late-night host, the consequences were swift and severe. Sponsors pulled their support, and his network announced that his show would be placed on indefinite hiatus. Behind the scenes, several executives involved in approving the joke were removed from their positions. The host released a brief statement expressing regret for the controversy, but continued to defend his right to satire. However, the damage to his career and public image was undeniable. The verdict also sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Networks began reevaluating their content policies, while comedians engaged in heated debates over the future of their craft. Some feared the ruling would lead to censorship, while others saw it as a necessary moment of reflection. "This isn't about killing comedy," one comedian explained on a podcast. "It's about understanding that words have weight, especially when they're amplified to millions." For Barron Trump, the case marked a turning point. Though the ordeal had been exhausting, he emerged with newfound confidence. In a brief public statement, he thanked his supporters and reiterated the importance of standing up for what's right. "This wasn't just about me or my family," he said. "It was about sending a message that respect matters, no matter who you are." Melania, too, expressed a sense of bittersweet victory. In a rare interview, she spoke about the challenges of protecting her son in the public eye, and her hope that the case would inspire others to think more carefully about the impact of their words. "Freedom of speech is a cornerstone of our society," she said, "but it should never come at the cost of someone's humanity." As the dust settled, the broader conversation shifted. Families, media professionals, and entertainers grappled with the case's implications. Where should the line be drawn between humor and harm? How can free speech be balanced with accountability? These questions lingered long after the courtroom lights dimmed. For many, the case became a cultural milestone, a moment that forced society to confront the ethics of entertainment and the responsibilities that come with influence. Advocacy groups began campaigns to promote ethical storytelling, while networks pledged to create safer, more respectful environments for their employees and audiences alike. The case may have ended, but the lessons it sparked continued to ripple across the nation. It wasn't just a story about Barron Trump or a late-night host. It was a story about all of us, about the power of words, the importance of empathy, and the need to protect those who can't always protect themselves. And so as we close this chapter, let's remember, humor has its place, but so does respect. Words can build bridges or tear them down. The choice is ours. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, like and subscribe for more inspiring videos.